For the Gospel according to St. Luke, the 16th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Then Jesus said to the disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, what is this that I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer. And the manager said to himself, what will I do? Now that my master has taken the position away from me, I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I've decided what to do, so that when I'm dismissed as manager, people may welcome me into their home. So, summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, how much do you owe my master? He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 50. Then he asked another, how much do you owe? He replied, 100 containers of wheat. He said to him, take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest steward because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it's gone, they may welcome you into the eternal home. Whoever is faithful in a very little is faithful also in much. And whoever is dishonest in a very little is dishonest also in much. If then you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust to you true riches? And if you have not been faithful what belongs to another, who will give you what you own? No slave can serve two masters. For slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Pleasure to be here, preaching in my new home congregation. This special day of homecoming and also recognition of the golden ages. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like this gospel text. I don't like to preach on this text because I don't know exactly how to approach it. The parable of the unjust or the dishonest steward, who in my opinion is crook, embezzler, thief, robbing his master twice. And of all things in the parable, Jesus has the master to commend him to us. Sets him up as an example for us. What's the point? How do we transfer the thrust of this parable to our lives here and now? Could the point be, don't be dumb. Be resourceful. Pull out all the stops as children of the light who have the good news of the gospel. Don't be dumb. There was this story I was reading in the book by Tom Friedman called Unforgettable Senior Moments. Man was attempting to rob this bank, Bank of America in Merced, California. He didn't have guns. So he tried what he thought to be the very next best thing. He stuck his finger in his jacket pocket. So he pointed his finger in the jacket pocket at the teller. And then not thinking, he pulled his hand out of his pocket and even cocked the gun. The teller tried out the last said, just wait a minute. And she went and called the police who came and arrested him using real handcuffs. On the other hand, in our text this morning, that this honest steward isn't a dumb crook. He's quite resourceful. He examines and he analyzes the situation. Very soon, he'll be without work. No work, no pay. No pay, no food, no housing. Serious stuff. Also, he knows himself. He says, I'm not strong enough to dig. You know, I can't go out and do manual labor. And I'm embarrassed to beg. He also knew that when this got out, nobody would hire him as their manager again. And then the light comes on in his mind. You know, I got it. I'll make friends with the master's debtors while I'm still in authority. So immediately he went around to one and he went to another creditor. You know, you owe my master $1,000. Sit down quick. Write me a check for $500 and I'll write it on the book paid in full. And he did this with several of them. So now they owe him. When he's put out on the street, they would enable him to continue being kept in the fashion he's accustomed to being kept. And the master found out about this too. Now, had I been the man, I would have been furious. I'd have taken it out of his sorry hide. I would have thought about doing him some bodily harm. At least throwing in Noah County in jail or rot for the rest of his life. But no. In verse 8, the master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted truly. What's the message? First, he recognized his condition and he acted. Sometimes we don't realize the state we're in, and often we're slow to move. I remember growing up, it's no longer on television. You remember the old Amos and Andy shows? I go back that far. You remember old Lightning? Lightning was slow to move. And indecision can kill. Once the philosopher John Dewey found his son in the bathroom, the floor was flooded and he was mopping furiously. He was trying to contain the water and keep the damage to a minimum. And the professor looked at it and began thinking, trying to understand the deeper ramifications of the situation. After a few moments of that, the son said, Dad, this is not the time to philosophize, it's the time to mop. The unjust steward took action. God expects Christians, us, children of the light, not to sit on our cans, but to take action. And if you would, remember Jesus told this parable not to the masses of people, but to his disciples. People who already knew him and believed in him. Not to the crowd, but those who were in the know. And the message is, do something. Act. When you know what the score is, act. We have the glorious good news. The wonderful news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So what do we do? There comes a time for us when we must stop analyzing and examining and take action. You remember after the great catch of fish, Peter, Andrew, James, and John left everything and followed. They weren't undecided, not about the Lord. And let us never be afraid to act. Time to decide, time to act. And I think that's what the message here is. In the book of Joshua, we have Joshua here speaking to the Lord. The people are on the very brink of promised land. And Joshua reminds the people what God's done. In Joshua 24 and 13, he says, I gave you a land which you did not labor, and cities which you have not built, and you eat fruit of vineyards and orchards which you did not plant. Now therefore, fear the Lord and serve him. Put away the gods which your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if you be unwilling to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. No indecision. Choose, act. But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. The dishonest man quickly analyzed his situation and he acted. Sometimes we don't need to drag our feet. Disciples of every age, first look what God has done for you. Consider, if you would, your condition without God on your side. And then choose an act. God has saved you. Bask in your salvation. Don't be selfish. Share it around. Don't drag your feet. The time has come for action. In 2 Corinthians 6, second reading for Ash Wednesday, we hear Paul working together with him. We entreat you not to accept the grace of God in vain. For he said, at the acceptable time I've listened to you and helped you on the day of salvation. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. The time is now. Disciples, act. The Second World War behind him, the German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller wrote his famous confession called I Didn't Speak Up. You're familiar with it, I'm sure. He wrote, in Germany, the Nazis came for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for the Catholics, but I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. And then they came for me. And by that time, there was no one left to speak up for me. Isn't Jesus saying that we should be as concerned and as clever with our matters of faith as was this dishonest manager? And don't wait, don't be indecisive. He knew it was time to wait. Do we know it's time to quit waddling around with Adiaphora stuff and get on with the business of gospel ministry? To stop getting hot and bothered about stuff that really doesn't matter and get on with what the Lord has in mind for us. Choose this day. And not just with words, choose with appropriate action. And get God's show on the road. Put caring into practice. Love in motion. Gospel ministry in more than mere words. And speak up. You are Christ's person. And act. Tell again, as we sung a while ago, the old story. and get down with Jesus with water bathing and wash dirty feet. Because you God. Because you're saved. Because you are his arms and feet. Because you have been given life. Don't wait until you feel you have all the answers. Act today. Love today. Help today. Be a dutiful servant today. In verse 4 in our text, the dishonest manager said, I've decided what to do. And he proceeded to implement. Let us go and do likewise. Do likewise today. God bless.